Several terrorists broke into the Air Force base and shot dead the soldiers guarding the fighter jets. Then they quickly climbed onto the fighter jets, preparing for the subsequent terrorist attacks. To ensure the smooth takeoff of the fighter jets, other terrorists set up a defensive line using pickup trucks. At this time, the special forces received orders and were rushing to the Air Force base to provide support. On the other side, the terrorists fully fueled the Su-27, removed the arresting barriers, and prepared to head for the runway. Suddenly, a pilot drove over. The terrorists directly picked up a rocket launcher and fired a shot at the pilot. Fortunately, the pilot reacted quickly and escaped unharmed. Seeing that the Su-27 was already heading for the runway, the pilot immediately went to the warehouse, preparing to fly the Su-30 to intercept it. The terrorists responsible for covering the rear caught up and kept firing with their machine guns. The pilot could only hide behind the ammunition boxes. Fortunately, the special forces arrived in time, rescued the two pilots, and then engaged in a gunfight with the terrorists. At this moment, the Su-27 began to accelerate. To prevent the terrorists from taking off, the special forces soldiers drove an armored vehicle and fired wildly with machine guns. Unfortunately, they failed. The terrorists successfully stole the Su-27 and flew towards the nuclear power plant. The pilot immediately flew the Su-30 in pursuit. Relying on its own advantages, the Su-30 soon caught up with the Su-27. The pilot immediately locked on and pressed the missile launch button, but the system indicated a malfunction. The pilot could only attack with the aircraft cannon. Just as it was about to hit, the Su-27 suddenly pulled up vertically and then flipped over, flying behind the Su-30. The officer in the command room saw that something was wrong and immediately ordered the launch of anti-aircraft missiles. On a plane 30 kilometers away from the nuclear power plant, 2 anti-aircraft missiles were launched rapidly. At this time, the Su-27 had locked onto the Su-30 and launched 2 air-to-air missiles. The Su-30 quickly released decoy flares, then dove down and pulled up vertically, successfully detonating the missiles. On the other side, the anti-aircraft missiles finally caught up with the Su-27, but the terrorists hacked the identification friend or foe system, causing the missiles to turn around and fly away. The Su-30 had to fly up to intercept again, which enraged the terrorists. The Su-27 adjusted its angle and fired wildly at the Su-30. But just then, a huge sandstorm swept in. The Su-30 took the opportunity to rush into the sandstorm to dodge the bullets, and the Su-27 followed closely behind. However, the engines couldn't hold up for long in the sandstorm, so the 2 fighter jets had to make an emergency climb and began to compete in performance. Soon, the engine of the Su-27 stalled and it lost control, starting to fall. The Su-30 seized the opportunity, flipped over, and successfully destroyed the Su-27, resolving this terrorist attack.